Hello and welcome. Happy Thursday, y'all. My name is Nathan Hunter. I'm with the Bronx River Alliance in New York City Parks, and I'm excited to welcome Liz Paredes on today's episode of Acknowledging Our Elders, a weekly plant chat. Hey, Liz, how you doing?
Hey, Nathan, I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
You want to introduce yourself to the audience, to folks joining us?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Liz. As I mentioned, my preferred pronouns are she, her, they, them. I pretty much welcome all pronouns. Um, and I'm a lover of the foodway. I worked at the foodway for 2 seasons as a community associate and again as a gardener. I loved it so much. I didn't want to leave that I became a member of Concrete Friends. And recently I completed a workforce development program known as Intervine, and just got hired to join their Hort crew. And
That,
today I am talking about red raspberry. It's the plant that brings.
yes. Thank you, Liz. Let me screen share real fast so we can see some visuals of the red raspberry, and then I'm gonna let you go right on into it. And I want to acknowledge that our friend Journey is not with us at the moment and may be joining us any moment, but they're having some technical issues, we believe. So sending good vibes out there for Journey. Um, and we are screen sharing. So cool, Liz. Thanks for welcoming Red Raspberry to the table. Want to introduce Red Raspberry for us?
Absolutely. So the Latin name for red raspberry is Rubus idaeus. And I actually just learned that it's a part of the rose family, um, which is, it made a lot of sense when I thought about it. It is a thorny shrub. Um, so definitely when you're out there foraging for raspberries, make sure to protect your hands because they will get you. Um,
We were
yeah,
also
man.
acknowledging that, like, we were both learning that it's part of the rose family. To be honest, I don't know what family I was thinking it was a part of, but acknowledging that it's part of the rose family, we're staring at the flower in this middle image, and I think of the 5 points, and I think of like other rose varieties, and can make that connection too. But appreciate these photos, which are from your backyard, right, Liz?
Yes, they are. uh, yeah, I'm sorry. I was stuck on the fact that you mentioned those 5 points. You mentioned earlier about even the flower being reminiscent of the rose, and I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that flower specifically was the first flower I ever got on that shrub. That was a very glorious morning. I actually sent you were the first person I sent that picture that morning. I remember. It's a very exciting moment for me. I actually added this shrub to my backyard because I wanted to have a little piece of the foodway at home, honestly.
Love it. And Liz, you took this directly from the foodway. This is like a cutting or a rooting.
I I did not, and I will be honest, I did try to take a cutting one time and I was not successful, but in retrospect, I didn't do it right at all. This was actually a shrub that I purchased from Home Depot.
Mm. Yeah, one thing that I will say about raspberries when we're thinking about like sharing this plant, because it is so abundant, and like can take over a space, is they send out runners, or shoots from the roots, and those are really easy to divide, by just kind of digging them up or using some scissors or some pruners or even like a soil knife, to cut through and sever one of the roots, and you can just pop that up and plant it up. And we have plenty of these at the Foodway, so we can definitely support kind of some distribution later this year. But I'm really curious, what's your connection with red raspberry, Liz?
Yeah. I would say just like off of surface, I've been eating raspberries since a kid. It's such a accessible fruit. I see it in I've never been to a supermarket that doesn't have a little pack of raspberries in the produce center, right? Most kids I know love raspberries. They're just soft and sweet and just like a really easy like introductory fruit. And fast forward to getting to the foodway where it's like really abundant, as Nathan mentioned. It was my first experience with the plant itself. I had only just seen the fruit before that, never saw the way that it grew. So that was very exciting for me. But really just thinking about my role at the Foodway and like making connections with people coming into the park, the raspberry was really easy entry point for me to just start conversations, especially when thinking about the youth and engaging them in the Foodway and understanding this really amazing resource that we have in our backyard. So that was just like a speaking piece for me to like gain their trust and get them to want to learn more about other plants. And then like that connection grew even further when I was leaving the foodway and was like, wow, I would really love to have some pieces of the foodway at home. And so that was when I introduced that plant to my home garden. And yeah, it's been really exciting to like share that experience with my kids as well.
Yeah, I appreciate what you said about that like entry point. And I think about that when it comes to foraging. This is a native plant. This is something that has been on this land for a long time. This is one of our indigenous ancestors. And I know like Roderick, you know, our coworker at one time, your former coworker, our friend, right? But Roderick has taught me a lot about raspberry, the raspberry plant. He's of the Powhatan tribe, and I know Shanae has mentioned raspberry. Um, Shanae Bullock of Musketu Consulting has mentioned raspberry through the Shinnecock tribe. So this whole eastern seaboard, you can find this plant everywhere. So I appreciate that it's a plant that at least is native, is from this land, and we're able to continue connecting with it. It's still here.
Yeah, agreed.
We were chatting earlier about the leaves of the plant, and the importance of like not just the fruit, but all parts of the plant.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that back up, actually, because that's another point that like really interested me about the plant. Just, you know, and this is true about many of the plants around us, that I think we're just like really used to this surface view of like these plants produce fruits and we just eat the fruits and we just consume and consume, and we're not really thinking about the entire plant as a whole. And you know, this plant in particular has more to offer us than just this very delicious and very nutritious berry. A lot of the vitamins and minerals that are found in the berry are actually found in the young leaves as well. Um, and so raspberry leaves, specifically the young leaves coming out right before flowering, are like the most ideal and most concentrated with what we're looking for when we're thinking about the plant medicinally. I was taught a few different things that I have now learned have mostly come from Journey, or Journey's knowledge passed down to us. And that's that, you know, it's really great for the female reproductive system. It's something that I introduce to my daughters when they're struggling with pains from their menstruation. I've also been told that it's really great for fertility. Um, and so I actually wanted to share, I was gifted, tell it's very ratty, some time back, this herbal tarot deck that has gotten a lot of love, clearly. And this tarot deck is really awesome because each herb, it gives like a little breakdown of um, you know, its benefits to us and how it could better help us in our lives at that moment. And this is the raspberry leaf. Nathan, can you see that there? Am I getting a good shot?
There we go. I'm gonna spotlight that real fast, and Um, there we go. That's a beautiful card. And I love the imagery of those raspberries all around a female
Right.
character, or like femme represented or femme presented.
Yeah. And so here it says it's an astringent. It aids pelvic circulation and female reproductive organs. It aids in childbirth, anti-inflammatory for fevers, good for nausea and motion sickness.
Wow, that motion sickness. I mean, that could cross boundaries there between gender. I know plenty of men who also get motion sickness. Liz, what is this deck? What is the name of this deck for those that are
Oh,
curious?
this deck is the Herbal Tarot by Michael Tierra and Candice Canton.
Awesome.
Bring that closer. Yeah,
That's
I
awesome.
really enjoy this.
That is so cool. Yeah, I appreciate the fact that leaves are also something that you can access and use, because how much of the time are we like focused on one aspect of the plant when in reality, like we should be thinking about holistically how can we use this plant. And I like it also just because it gives the plant attention and respect, all year, not just like extractive, right? Like there's like an ability
Right.
to care for it all year.
Yeah. And thinking of that, it actually sparks a memory of last season. At the beginning of the season, it was also a habitat for a mama mallard that was nesting. She came and made it her home. So yeah, I'm really grateful for red raspberry, and all that it has to give us, and I'm happy to continue loving it back and having that reciprocal relationship.
For those interested in harvesting red raspberry from the foodway, it's as simple as it kind of sounds. You just kind of pluck off those tender, younger leaves, and you can just dry them. Do you do anything special, Liz, if you're harvesting raspberry leaves from the foodway? Any special considerations?
Definitely being mindful of like wearing gloves and long sleeves to protect your arms, as we mentioned earlier on, because of the thorns. One thing that I was told is either consuming those leaves um, fresh instantly or waiting until they're fully dry. There's something about the in between stage that could actually cause nausea and be slightly toxic.
Fascinating. That's like those are the golden nuggets. Those are the golden nuggets we're always looking for. Like
Yeah. And also this reminds me of, something that we did at the end of the fall last year, which was we made some oxymels, and not only did we use the leaves for certain mixes, but we also added the berries into those mixes. And the idea was that obviously those nutrients would like sink into the mix that we made, but then at the end thinking of the solid parts that are still lasting, and then making a tea from that, which was really exciting. We also made different like tea packs and yoni steams, which the raspberry leaves were also added to. A lot of fun ways to use the entire plant.
that is awesome. I noticed Journey just joined us, so I'm gonna let them in the room and have them kind of settle in and see what they're thinking about when it comes to red raspberry. Welcome, Journey.
Hey,
Hi.
hi.
So happy you could make it. We've been chatting up red raspberry all morning.
Hi, Liz.
Well, we were just reflecting on the oxymel experience last fall and harvesting leaves for. We started off by talking about kind of the connection with females and just kind of the support, medicinal support year round. And then we were just talking about end of year celebration and the way we were harvesting and saving for winter use.
Yeah, that was really good. Did you use it, Liz?
I did. I have friends that I shared with that used it. My mom's using it in Florida right now. Like, definitely getting it deep out here.
Awesome. Just real quick, and I'm just jumping in. How was that experience for you, using the red raspberry? Was there things that you noticed that you probably didn't notice before? Like, how was that like?
So if we're speaking specifically about like the oxymels that we made, it was mixed with a lot of other stuff. So I'm
Yeah.
not sure that I was able to pinpoint that. But like as far as me, like I've used it at home before. I've made tea for myself. And I'm a tea lover, so just pour me up a tea, a warm cup of tea, and I'm at home. I feel a lot of comfort. Um, I personally don't really suffer from a lot of like pain or discomfort during my menstruation. So for me, it was more just like the idea of knowing that I'm helping strengthen my reproductive system because I have put a hurting on it when having 3 children. So I
Yes.
am grateful.
Awesome. That is cool. I like raspberry. Red raspberry. It's funny. I have a quick story. My first child, um, I prepared for her by using red raspberry leaves like the year before I had her, before she was conceived, because I used to get also a lot of cramps and things like that. But that's when I started using red raspberry leaves a lot. And it was amazing. I didn't have PMS and the cramps anymore because I used to get it really bad, where to the point if my menstrual cycle started today, like I can't do nothing, I can't move. It was just that painful. But after using red raspberry consistently for a while, all of that went away. I was just like, that's all that I needed? Okay. So it is truly an amazing plant. And people don't know this, but you can also use it for the cold. Like it's also really good to help with the cold. If you have diarrhea, red raspberry, if you have red raspberry and there's diarrhea going around, you can use it for that as well because it's astringent. So it does help. And it's tonifying, right? So those are the things that helps the colon, when you have those bad bugs going on. So that's how I've used it, and I still use it like that. I don't take it as often, but this year I will, because outside of the reproductive system and the digestion and things like that, it's also known as a nourishing herb, which means that is an herb that has a lot of vitamins and minerals. So you can drink it all the time. You can drink it daily without having to worry about like, oh wait, is it gonna give me bad side effects? What it does on a nourishing level, it replenishes your body. It gives you vitamins, minerals. So if I'm not going to eat for the day or I'm not going to do anything to really put in good stuff in, I know that if I'm drinking a raspberry tea, I'm still getting some vitamin and some nourishment in. So that's how I play around with it sometimes. It's like, okay, I don't feel like eating. Let me make myself a raspberry tea.
I really appreciate that nugget. That was a good one to know.
Wow. I'm also like over here. Some days you're out in the fields working and you're just kind of like, I don't have access to food, but to think about, okay, like let me store some like raspberry tea for later.
Yeah.
That could offer a real boost. I'm storing
Yeah.
that for
Oh
myself.
yeah, it really does. And even for women who are pregnant, um, you can drink raspberry tea leaves, but it's still rather you take it during the third trimester. You can do it prior to, but just on a safety net or whatever, they prefer for you to start taking it during your third trimester because it tonifies the uterus. So it's helping to strengthen it. So when it's time to push, right, your uterus has gotten a lot of support and nutrient during that time, and it strengthens, so a little bit more stronger, and it can take more, and you will feel lesser pain. Not that you won't feel no pain, but it will be less than if you didn't use it.
Yeah. Nate, you just mentioned something about like being out in the garden, and the raspberry was my go-to fuel to keep me going as I was gardening. So curious, Journey, if the same can be said about the berries.
Yes, yes, the same can be said about the berries. Absolutely. So you can even do a combo. Like when it comes to teas and things like that, you don't have to separate. You can also incorporate the raspberry berries with the leaves. You know what I mean? And have both of them in that way. Like you can make yourself a raspberry tea, throw in some berries in there. You know, you could even dry up your raspberries. Like we should try to probably do that this year, as we could, as we're harvesting some of the berries, because they come in plenty, right? All into the fall, we still get some raspberries, so we can actually dry them up, and you can blend them, and like a nice tea with the leaves and the berries. So you're getting a lot of you're getting benefit from both. The raspberry itself also has a lot of antioxidant, a lot of it. So yeah, definitely get it that way. You can even juice the berries if you want it. It was like, all right, I don't want to process it, then juice it, right? And then just add in the raspberry leaf tea and mixing them together that way. So you're getting both of the things. You got your little red drink or white drink, because we got the white raspberry too, and enjoy it. Absolutely.
I love that. I think something I'm trying to quit is buying raspberry tea because it's been my go-to. Like it's the thing I love. I love the flavor, and I love it feels special to also buy like Fuji teas that have like dried fruit in it. And last year when we were incorporating the fruit, I was like, ooh, like I just got an air fryer. I'm gonna try to dehydrate these. Like, let's see how that works. I'm curious like other ways we could dehydrate in the future, but I recognize the times that I've tried to dehydrate the fruit, it's challenging because they're so moist that they start to rot. So you get these like batches that are botched. So you got to just be careful for those that are dehydrating.
No, that is so true. Like trying to dehydrate a fruit just using the air, it's challenging because of the moisture. Even when you're using a dehydrator, you still have to be careful because you can burn it. And that happens to me with the raspberry. I was just like, oh, I was gonna dehydrate some, and I left it in for too long. So it was definitely burnt. Even just in a dehydrator. So that's something that you really have to watch. Some fruits are easier to dehydrate than others, and raspberry, because of the way that it is, it has those single bubbles. I don't know, that's what makes it a little bit more complicated. Like I can dehydrate cherry better than I can dehydrate a raspberry.
I actually just learned that those are all individual fruits. Like they're actually bunches of fruit and not just some little piece.
Yeah, they really are. That's an amazing fruit. It's like unity, We are one individual, but when we come together, we make this amazing fruit. There you go. It's like we're more flavorful when we're together.
Wait, that's too beautiful of a note to not end on that. Journey, I wish you were with us earlier in this convo, but I'm so grateful that you popped in when you did. You bring so much to the conversation always. We do need to kind of curb this for my own benefit, but Liz, thank you so much for joining us today. We long to have you back at the Foodway in your gardener role again, but we're so happy that you're at least participating in the space through Intervine and through Concrete Friends. So we'll see you at the Foodway very soon.
Thank
Yes.
you so much. Thank you both for having me. This was a lot of fun.
You're
I'll
welcome.
be there.
Yes. And I should say today is the official reopening of Concrete Plant Park in the sense that it is not it's still under construction, but we the wooden blockade is coming down, so we can start entering the park this weekend.
So if I was to go today, I will be able to enter. There won't be no blockage in the front. Is that what you're saying?
I would say show up tomorrow.
Okay.
Just in case for some reason something's happening while I've been on this call. But very soon we'll all be in there eating raspberries, which is
Yes.
the best thing.
Oh yeah. So plentiful.
Awesome. Well, thank you all. Thanks for those that were joining, and we'll see you next week. We'll be talking to Lachette next week. So
Yeah, for sure.
we'll hear from Lachette, and they'll be uplifting plantain. So tune in next Thursday. Super. Take care, y'all.